I think one of the beautiful things that astrology can do is that it gives you a symbolic language to be able to enter into the difficult spaces in your life. Using a single symbol from astrology, something like Saturn or something like Chiron, these can become powerful focalizers for our consciousness to be able to inquire into our experience. Saturn can cover anything from the skeleton to the border of the country to your role as a breadwinner to whatever. Now, what do all those things have in common, right? They all have structure. They all have solidity, foundation, right? Saturn is that limiting force. Now, limitation isn't bad, but how many of us like it when somebody tells us to limit ourselves? When you're a kid and somebody says, you have to come in from playing outside, or you're in trouble. All of a sudden, you're not supposed to do that, and somebody shames you for it, and that's it. Now you've got that built into your psyche for the rest of your life that there are bad things, and I better not do the bad things because then that makes me bad. So that's the kind of stuff that comes with Saturn. Saturn isn't bad, but Saturn represents an energy that we experience in the world and that we experience in our consciousness and in our bodies. And really, it's the vibration in our bodies that registers when we have a Saturn event that then gets melded with the messages that we get from outside and the messages that we've already internalized and shake up that cocktail. And, most of the time it's pretty bad news, okay? But Saturn is also classically associated with the highest realm of initiation, right? So in the classical mysteries, like Hermetic mysteries and Neoplatonism and everything, they saw the soul of the initiate, somebody on the way to spiritual liberation and mastery, as passing through the different spheres, right? And each sphere in the cosmos was represented by a different planet, or the home of a different planet. And Saturn, being the outermost planet, was the last one. And you would progressively, through your initiations and your mastery, come to the level of Saturn. And at the level of Saturn, you would, beyond Saturn, you would achieve gnosis, the knowledge of who you really are. So what does that tell you? If we're all, whether we know it or not, on some kind of path of initiation, if we're all on a path of discovering who we really are, then Saturn holds a key to that. What we're being asked by Saturn is, how can you really face those seemingly unfaceable things in yourself? The way that Saturn tends to work is that we internalize the messages from outside. We bump up against other people early in life, and each bump and each message that comes with the bump and each internal vibration that arises in response to the bump, it's like this construction process, and it's just a vibrational bumper cars, right? And through that vibrational bumper cars, little by little, we build up a personality. And what we're building there is essentially a false self, okay? This false self is created out of fear. Quite simple. How does that work? It's like each bump sends a signal to us that we are here, they are there. I'm inside this mind and body, the world is outside me. I'm this big, and the world just goes on further than I can see. Forever, right? So within that, there's this natural urge for self-preservation. That urge for self-preservation carries a vibration with it, fear, right? So fear is like this fundamental vibration of separation. Fear is one of the main paints that the cosmos is using to paint with, okay? Because the cosmos wants to be composed of separate creatures. And that's the great mystery, is this, the one and the all. That there is this one expressing itself as many, 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 many. All right? So fear is a part of the preservation process of those separate entities. And so that's what we experience. And it's through that we create this. It's like the first iteration of our separateness is this false self. Okay. And Saturn, astrologically, if you kind of bore into where your Saturn is placed and how Saturn is transiting your chart right now, Saturn will tell you a lot about the process that you go through in creating that self-definition. Particularly, what are the negative messages? Saturn likes to define things in terms of what you are not and what you cannot do and what you cannot have. Now, the next step with Saturn is a slowing down. You cannot do everything. You cannot continue to expand forever like we somehow believe companies in this economy are supposed to do. So Saturn is the principle that teaches us, sometimes we pull it back. Okay. So what will often happen in the awakening process is that we encounter the dark night of the soul. I don't think I know anybody who hasn't gone through some kind of a dark night in their own awakening process. And all the dark night is it's a reckoning. It's a moment of realizing just how much you have been living in a false self. How much what you think you are is not what you are, right? And there is no skipping past the stage of that recognition. But you don't want to get caught there, right? The worst thing is to suddenly bump up against that and then just conclude that your life is a lie, you just are being punished by God, you are just living in hell on earth, that earth itself is hell. Earth is not hell. Okay? It is definitely not hell. This is not a place where we just come to suffer. But we do suffer, and we can learn from the suffering, and Saturn teaches us a lot about that. So, basically, we come to this stage in the dark night where Saturn or Chiron or Pluto, right? I can talk about those maybe in another video. But, one of these hard planets basically yanks us into an initiation. And the way Saturn can work is through loss, through failure, or through humiliation. Humiliation's an interesting one. You ever had those dreams where you like show up naked to work or school or something like that? Like, I haven't had one of those dreams in a long time, but I recently felt like I was living in one of those dreams. Not with other people so much, but with myself. It was just like, and with other people, a feeling of like, I just got so sensitive to all the places where I was lying lying to myself, right? And it's easy to do, right? We lie to ourselves, right? It's the what makes the world go round, right? All the lies that we tell to ourselves are essentially what keep society functioning. Truly. Saturn basically will show you a place in your life where you habitually do this. Or you go through Saturn transit and it shows you where you habitually do this. Now, reckoning with that stuff can be humiliating, right? And you might even find yourself in circumstances that are really ugly, and you're on the receiving end of a great indignity. Somebody does something to you. Your partner makes out with somebody while you're in the same room, or whatever. Like this stuff happens. Now, I would never want to do the spiritual bypassy thing of like, everything happens for a reason, and make the lemons out of that lemonade. But everything happens for a reason, and make the lemons out of the lemonade. I mean, it's true, but you can't skip past the feeling of the pain. At a certain point, it's like you really have to embrace it. It's like, if this is happening to me, if I didn't deserve it, or I don't think I deserved it, right? If I don't think I deserved it, But why is it still happening? Or if things continue to happen again and again and again and again and again, you really do have to ask yourself, why does this stuff keep happening to me? What am I doing to invite it? And it's not a blame thing. We have to, most of all, not skip out and away from the pain. It's as simple as that. It's really, truly, it's very fucking simple. So let's think about it. Try something with me right now. I'm sure, being a human being, there's something that you can think of without having to strain too hard that is fucking you up right now. Right? Something that's difficult. Now just think about that for a moment, okay? Think about whatever this thing is that's bothering you. And feel it, okay? I'm sure you feel something somewhere in your body. What you'll notice is that as you think about this, obviously there's the story, right? And however that story comes, it's phrases, images, scenarios, people, roles that people played, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what was done to whom. Just think about that. Think of the whole story. And really, actually, right now, like chew on it. Like bury your face in the story. Okay? As you do that, what do you feel? Like, I want you to really go for it right now. Not if you're driving. Yeah, as you go for it, all right. You notice there's the story. And that story, if you really dig your nose into it, will generate feelings in the body. Feel the feelings now. And now what I want you to do is think about those as two separate things. You got feelings, which are essentially body sensations. And then you got the story. And let the story just be like, all right, story, you can hang out right there. Just let it kind of do its thing. And now just go to the feelings and feel them. And ask yourself, like just sit with the feelings. Sit with the feelings. Sit with the feelings. Don't try to get behind the feelings, but really see if you can sink your consciousness into the feelings. Now, depending on where you are in your process, if you do this sort of thing, you might have to go through a big cathartic thing. But really, this isn't about a big catharsis. If you need to cry, cry. But it's really just about feeling it. What you'll notice when you just allow yourself to be with a feeling fully without either resisting it or stirring it up again and again and again with the story, is that it just kind of comes and goes. Doesn't mean it won't come again, but it comes and goes like a wave, right? And if you step back and look at your life day to day, week to week, month to month, you'll see things come in these kind of big tides, and then they go, right? So tides come in, tides go out, little wavelets come in, little wavelets go out. And emotions are just like that. And they have a very short half-life, right? So the fact is that, again, through Saturn, we're like built to resist the feelings. And in fact, the Saturn response in us is kind of to register the feeling and immediately go into a defensive posture. And it's really a body-mind defensive posture. It's like we actually physically hold tension in the body, right? And we also hold tension in the mind. You'll notice that, like, a lot of people that overthink, I used to be a huge overthinker. A lot of people that overthink are really just avoiding feeling. I mean, I have found this to be 100% true for myself. And I'll notice on days that my mind is particularly active. I mean, I've learned to go like, okay, like, where's this coming from? Right? And then I go down and I look for some kind of emotion that might be underneath it. And often what I find is nothing, right? But rarely is there nothing, right? It's not a nothing, because a nothing, when you really go into nothing, that's bliss, baby. That true nothingness is an emptiness. It's a freedom. But this kind of nothing, it's like a deadness. It's like it's kind of like your arm has gone to sleep, except at an emotional level. So I'll find that underneath a chattering mind. So then I might sit with that for a while. Okay, like what is this deadness covering? It's better to go there than to avoid it. And so this is the thing that we learn with Saturn. Another great thing in the Saturn department is lessons that are learned over time through experience. Often the hard way, but it doesn't have to necessarily be the hard way. It's like dojo training. It's like repetitive, just you get knocked down, you get up, you do it again, you get knocked down, you get down, you do it again, you get knocked down, you do it again. There is a process of humiliation in that, of recognizing, oh, I'm not king shit. I'm not the big guy I thought I was. And each time, you chisel away that sense of your own greatness that you come preloaded with. And it's like, no, if there's any greatness, it's like, it's got to be earned. Plus, it's not even about being great. When you give up even wanting to be great, right? It's very freeing. So let me pull myself back to the through line. What am I saying here? I used Saturn as an entry point. This is how I like to use astrology. I use Saturn as an entry point to talk about something that I think is universally true for human beings. That we have this false self that constructs itself out of this kind of vibrational bumper car game that we're in when we come into life. We don't know we're doing it. It's rooted in fear, survival instinct. A point comes where we realize this ain't working for me anymore. I feel dead. I feel cut off from life. I feel chronically unhappy. I feel like I can't do what I came here to do. I feel like I lost touch with who I really am. What happened? You start to realize, oh man, I've been lying to myself. I've put up with this shit. I've done horrible things to people. People have done horrible things to me and I've allowed it. And eventually you just surrender. What do I mean by surrender? Surrender isn't giving up. It isn't a weak thing to do. Surrender is a strong thing to do. It's a recognition that you have no power to control this stuff. It's every attempt to control this stuff. If you really look at it, it's every single attempt you have ever made to control your life that has built this fucking prison that you reside in, right? And so that's the point of surrender. So you come there and you go, fuck it. Like, all right, if that doesn't work, show me something that does. And if you really get there, you get shown. Something comes. We all suffer through a lot of stuff until we come to a point of realizing we don't need to continue to suffer with it. In talking about surrender, there is no grace without surrender. And grace is a very religious sounding word. The experience of grace is the experience of finally being touched by that oneness. We notice grace when something remarkable happens and disaster is averted. But the more remarkable thing is that it is like it's the medium that sustains us. It's the ocean. It's the water that the fish lives in the ocean. It's the air we breathe. I mean, when you really consider the fact of how fragile our existence is, and that we get up every morning and go about our day and for the most part don't get maimed or killed, and that we can do that that now we can do that, many of us, for 100 years. I mean, that's crazy, really, truly, when you think about it. And I know there are people, I have been one of those people who's wired to sit there thinking about all the possible ways that I could get injured or killed. So, and again, that's Saturn, right? So, if you're in a place right now where you feel like you are just fucked and life is just, it just isn't for you and it isn't gonna work, and you might as well give up. Or if you're not even that far along and you're not like truly severely depressed, but you're just you're just stuck, right? I mean, that's the place that I've been a lot. If you're in that kind of a place, understand that it's whatever it is that is making you stuck is the key. It's the doorway. It is the gift. It's the wrapping on the gift. I swear to God, this is not some spiritual mumbo jumbo, nice little happy message. It's true. It's very true. All you have to do is allow yourself to turn toward those feelings and understand that you have a mechanism of resistance that will either push them away or will keep stirring them up, which lets you never resolve them. Okay? So you put the mind over here, you feel it in the body, you let it come, you let it go. Then you go back to your day, then it comes again, you do it again. All right? It's just repetitive training. All right? It's like martial arts, but gentle, self-compassion. Right? It is not like a hard job you got to do. So if you want to learn more, just visit me at theinnerfountain.com. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Substack, where I have a blog because that's what you have on Substack. And that's all I want to say for now. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks.